You, it's your boy HollyHood Sensei. Sensei of the Blurry Carteezy. We in the building. Welcome to HollyHood on this regularly scheduled day for the first time and I don't know how long. But I had to keep y'all updated on a lot of stuff that was going on in the music industry. Particularly your man Kendrick and Drake. The dust is settled, as they say. The beef is over. You know what I mean? I don't think it is, but for now, it's over. You know, it's too many things that were said between both sides that it's hard for me to believe that this is going to end where it's at. You know what I mean? But for now, it's over. So the purpose of today's episode. Oh yeah, also make sure you follow the Brother Cartel Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, all that good stuff. You know what I mean? But the purpose of today's episode is we're going to talk about if this really was, the greatest battle in our time. You know what I mean? And I'm speaking of people that's like my age. You know what I mean? I'm 34 years old. So, I done seen a lot of rap feuds and rap beefs take place. So, if you like 10, 15 years younger than me, you ain't really, you know, get the full scope of rap feuds throughout the history of, rap beef. You really only seen Kendrick and Drake or, you know, Drake and Meek Mill or, whatever. But through the course of history, there has been numerous rap beefs starting all the way from the inception of rap music when you had back in the 80s when you had the Boogie Down Productions and everything. The Bridges Over South Bronx versus Queensbridge. You had all that. You had that. You had LL Cool J, Kumo D. I mean, it was a lot of. You had LL versus Ice T back then. Who else was going out back then? MC Light, Roxanne, Shantae. It was a lot of stuff. It was a lot. You know what I mean? Like so. You know, if you're just now getting into this, like I said, Kendrick and Drake would be an introduction, but this has been going on since, like I said, the inception of hip hop. Part of what hip hop was, one of the elements to it is, the battle rap aspect of it. So, you know what I mean? But Kendrick versus Drake, was this the greatest battle of all time? You know what I mean? Was it? In my opinion, no, it was not. I will give you several details on why I feel as though it was not the greatest battle of all time. You know what I mean? Was it one of the more hyper and very, you know, anticipated and talked about moments of 2024? Yes. You know what I mean? Griffey got ghostwriters? I hope. Don't tell me Cole got ghostwriters. You know what I mean? But was this the greatest battle of all time? No. For me, it is very easily in the top five, top three. No, top five. I'll give it top five. You know what I mean? But the reason why I can't place it at number one is because number one, we did not find out through the course of this who is the better rapper between Kendrick and Drake. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't find out. Like, we found out who, like, through the course of this battle, we found out who's the shittier person, maybe. You know what I mean? But we didn't find out who's the better rapper. You know what I mean? So that's number one. You know what I mean? The battle of lyricism wasn't really there. It was just a battle of gossip. You know what I mean? And I think that's what kind of mired this battle a little bit. Not even a little bit, high key, a lot of it. You know what I mean? another point. This battle wasn't mano a mano. It wasn't basically Kendrick versus Drake. It was Kendrick versus Drake on Kendrick's side, but for Drake, it was Drake versus Kendrick versus Rick Ross versus Metro Boomin versus Future versus ASAP Rocky versus Kanye West versus niggas on Twitter versus Joe Budden podcast, whoever you want to, me. Like, it was Drake versus everybody and their grandma. You know what I mean? So that was the reason why I feel like in Drake's part, he messed that up. I mean, he didn't take his central focus to Kendrick Lamar, and that's the reason why he lost the battle. I mean, you didn't focus on your one opponent. You know what I mean? You didn't focus on the one main opposition that you should have focused on, which was Kendrick Lamar. And he focused on you the whole time. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, J. Cole said what he said on 7-Minute Drill, and he may have addressed it. You know what I mean? You know, he said what he said, but he didn't spend too much time. He didn't spend the block on J. Cole. You know what I mean? Drake, you decided to spend the block on all the people I named, and that threw off your focus. It threw off your focus. It threw off your material. You know what I mean? And then also another reason why this might, the whole planet information and all this other shit. Yeah, I mean, it just made it messy. Like, we didn't need any of that in this battle. Like, I mean, like I said, the whole gossip, like I said, this battle was basically finding out who was the shittier person. Like, all we wanted to know was who rapped better between Drake and Kendrick. That's it. We just wanted to know who was the better rapper between the two. You know what I mean, nobody cared about, Kendrick possibly father, taking care of another man's child. Nobody cared about that. You know what I mean, nobody cared about Drake having another child. I didn't care about the child he had the first time. You know what I mean? And that was one of the reasons why I said initially Pusha T didn't win, even though I went back and he did win. But initially, that's why I said he didn't win, because it's like, bro, nobody, like, you won the battle because you exposed that he had a child. Like, you know what I mean? You supposed to be showing niggas that you rap better than him. You know what I mean? But I get it. This is, you know what I mean, it's supposed to be disrespectful. So, you got to say some things that's going to ruffle feathers and get your opposition upset. Like, I understand that. But those are just like my main reasons why this isn't the best rap beef of all time. You know what I mean? Because there, like I said, Drake didn't focus on his main opponent. There was too much, Now, I'm not about to sit here and say every rap beef that ever existed, there wasn't lies told on each side, because there was. But I feel like this was to a different magnitude. You know what I mean? This was like to a different magnitude. Like, I mean, because you coming out with the allegations of people hitting their wife or people having secret children, the whole predator stuff and all that. Like, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that's a lie, because it's, documented instances of, that man putting himself in these precarious situations. So, I mean, if that wasn't the case, these rumors wouldn't be about, if you wasn't putting yourself in those situations. Like, I mean, nobody's just going to say that shit out of nowhere if you haven't led some type of trail of breadcrumbs for them to say, hey, we got to check into this dude's behavior. Like, regardless of the girl coming out and saying she did this and he didn't do this, and, the Millie Bobby Browns and all that saying there was nothing there and all that. It's just the simple fact, the optics of it, that when you're a grown man, no matter how old you are, you're still grown. He could have been 23, 24. It don't matter. I get it. Some people talking to like, oh, they saying it's like Drake now. The 37-year-old Drake now was doing that. But even still, you 24, 25, whatever years old, texting and talking to 15, 16-year-old girls is like, come on. It don't matter if you 23 or 24 years old. You're not supposed to be doing that shit. Like, like, But regardless, I mean, the rap battle wasn't a battle. I mean, it was, it was a smear campaign, and that's why I don't put it at, the top of the list, because it was just a smear campaign between both sides. Like, you know what I mean? But still, with that being said, the music that came out of it was great. You know what I mean? Like Euphoria is amazing. You know what I mean? So it's not like us. You know what I mean? Family Matters is great. I mean, Push Ups is okay. You know what I mean? It's still, it's still listenable. You can still turn Push Ups on. You know what I mean? And fuck with it. You know what I mean? But, you know, the songs that came out of it were great. Like these are all the songs we got out of this joint. Right? You know what I mean? You got Euphoria and Push Up, 616, Tailor Made, Meet the Grams, Family Matters, Not Like Us, The Heart Part 6. Like, we got 8 quality Jones out of there. Now, Hard Part 6, regardless of, the tone of the song, because it does sound like, an admission of defeat in the song, the lyrics still was there. There were some questionable things said within the song. You know what I mean? That, it could have been some lyrics that he omitted in that joint, but, you know what I mean? Still in all, the lyrics was there. I mean, Not Like Us, we already know that. Like, it literally became like Not Like Us took what Back to Back did and like times 10 did. You know what I mean? Like, you know, this like Back to Back was nominated for a Grammy. This John fuck around might win the Grammy, which would be crazy. You know what I mean? But it's breaking all types of streaming records, #1 on Billboard, all that shit. So I mean, Family Matters, great song. You know what I mean? I think the reason why we, a lot of people don't give Family Matters this credit that it deserves because it got stepped on immediately by Meet the Grams, because he released the shit like like 30 minutes after. You know what I mean? So it got stepped on immediately. But you listen to the lyrics, like Family Matters is better than Meet the Grams. Like it's just better. Like I said Kendrick won. I'm not going like Kendrick won, but Family Matters is better than Meet the Grams. It's just better. Like Meet the Grams was very disrespectful. You listen to it and you kind of be like, God damn, bro, like you really don't like this nigga. Like, I mean, you really got you really got an issue with the boy. But bar for bar lyrically, Family Matters is just a better song than Meet the Grams. Meet the Grams is just super disrespectful. You know what I mean? It's just super disrespectful. And then, Alchemist did his thing with that beat too. Like this song is just so sinister. Like, I mean, it's just you didn't expect Kendrick to get on that type time. Like, I mean, he was on some, you know what I mean? Like, he really is the boogeyman. Kendrick just opened his mouth. You know what I mean? Somebody give him a Grammy right now, dog. You know what I mean? Family Matters is, yeah, see? I agree. See, he agrees with me. I mean, Family Matters is the better song. It's just Meet the Grams is just so sinister and disrespectful. You know what I mean? And then Taylor Made a 616. For me, they both throwaway Jones. Like, I see where Drake was going with the Taylor Made freestyle. I see where he was going. Like, I mean, because when you look at what he was saying in the song, you look at the lyrics, he has some shit in there. But, you know what I mean? The AI shit is what kills the whole vibe. You know what I mean? Because it's like, come on, bro. Like, you know? Like, I get it. I get the strategy. You using 2 of the West Coast biggest icons, Kendrick idols, to call him out and say, hey, yeah, I mean, you gotta, follow through with what you started. Like, that's cool, but like, you know what I mean? Niggas ain't feeling that shit. They weren't feeling the Tupac AI voice. Like, and then Euphoria and Push Ups, it's just like it's no contest. Euphoria is just a way better song. Like Push Ups, I said it when it first came out when I did my review. The song is cool. It's just the song for me is more memorable for the shots that he took at other people. I mean, like the most memorable line in the song is dedicated towards Metro Boomin. You know what I mean, Metro, shut your whole ass up and make some drums. That's the most memorable line in the song, and that was dedicated to someone else. It wasn't dedicated to Kendrick. Whereas though in Euphoria, you knew what the agenda was. Yeah, I mean, from the start of the song to the end of the song, you knew what the agenda was. I'm going at Drake. I'm getting this nigga the fuck out of here. Push ups. He decided to, I'm gonna take aim at everybody. But when he did take aim at Kendrick, I mean, it was, it was short jokes and. I mean, the shit about top and the splits and all that other shit. I mean, that was cool. I mean, I do like the Prince to a Son. I mean, Prince to a King. That was a fire drawing too. But the most memorable line in the song was towards Metro Boomin. You know what I mean? But within these 8 songs right here, these is like May 3rd, we got 616, Meet the Grams, and Family Matters. You know what I mean, we got those 3 songs in one day. So like that right there alone, just May 3rd, that day, and just the quality of those tracks that we got on that day puts this battle in, to me, the top 5, like I said. And let's get into some of these other genres and I'll break them down for you. So the top rap beefs, right? I got Kendrick versus Drake slotted in right at number 4. You know what I mean? Number 4. Now, we can start at number 1. Number 1, I got 50 Cent versus Murder Inc. Like, that was, you know what I mean? Like, the myriad, the plethora, the bevy of diss tracks that came out between that, and that was real beef. That was real street shit. That was, you know what I mean? You had everybody, 50 from 50 and G Unit to Eminem and D12 to, you know what I mean, Ja Rule, Irv Gotti, whoever else he had on Cadillac Top, Black Child, all them niggas. You know what I mean? Everybody. You know what I mean? Going at it on record. You know what I mean? We all know about the incident that happened at the recording studio where, you know what I mean, the lights went out. Somebody got, niggas got poked up. You know what I mean? The order of protection, all that shit. Like, this 50 versus Murder Inc., G Unit versus Murder Inc., that shit was just, it's classic. Like, it's way, like, all the fucking diss tracks that came out of that. Back Down, you know what I mean? I Smell Pussy. You know what I mean? What else? You know what I mean? The Haley's Revenge, the D12 John. You know what I mean? Like, bro, 50 Cent versus Murder Inc. number 1, man. Like, that had the mixtape scene in a everywhere you went, bro. No matter where you was at, if your local bodega or whatever, your Aki stand, the mixtapes was out, and it was 50 Cent. It was G Unit versus Murder Inc. Like, that was like you just had to be outside for when that shit popped off. Like, you know what I mean? Niggas got stabbed at the Source Wars too. You know what I mean? Like, shit was real when 50 and Murder Inc. You know what I mean? Next, Jay-Z versus Nas. Now, Jay versus Nas, because you had 2 of the greatest rappers of all time at that, in their prime, and they was going at it with each other. You know what I mean? They were in their prime. Can we necessarily say right now that Drake and Kendrick are in their prime? You know what I mean? Because a lot of people feel like Drake is peaked. You know what I mean? And so, but yeah, Jay-Z and Nas, I mean, this is, like I said, 2 of the greatest artists ever. You know what I mean? We know what Takeover, like I said before in many occasions, it's kind of like Push-Ups because he was taking shots at multiple people on Takeover, but the shots that he aimed at Nas on Takeover were stronger than the shots he aimed at everybody else. So, you know what I mean? That's why Takeover gets as much praise as it does. And then, of course, Ether. I mean, Ether is regarded as probably one of the greatest diss tracks of all time, if not the greatest diss track ever. You know what I mean? So when that song is, in the whole resume of the beef, arguably the greatest song ever, diss track ever, is within the beef between Jay-Z and Nas, it has to be in the top 3. You know what I mean? It has to be. Has to be in the top 2. You know what I mean? Because Ether is, like I said, literally regarded as the greatest diss track ever. So, you know what I mean? He definitely he called Jay-Z he definitely called him a Tabo ho, dog. Like, you know what I mean? Called that nigga a Tabo ho. Which is the bid. Like, how you call another grown man a Tabo ho? You know what I mean? But you know, he was 36 years old in the karate class. You know what I mean? But you know, I ain't mad at Hove. He was just trying. You know what I mean, he was trying to get his black belt. You know, can't be mad at him for that. Now, Biggie and Pac, you know what I mean, they really, you know, it was hit him up. You know, who shot you? You know what I mean? And Biggie had a couple. You know, he did respond. He had a couple of responses on, you know, life after death. But the reason why it's number 3 is because the impact of the whole beef. You know what I mean? It wasn't. We didn't really get uh, a crazy amount of songs. I mean, we didn't get a good quantity of songs from the beef, but the impact of it. You know what I mean? You know, it changed how rap feuds are viewed forever. Like, you know what I mean, you know, and also that was the beef that spearheaded the whole coast versus coast. It was East versus West. You know what I mean? So when you put Big and Pac, accompany that with the whole East versus West Coast joint. You know what I mean? So you gotta put it up in the top 3 because of the stigma behind it and everything that it carried. You know what I mean? But and also Hit 'em Up. Hit 'em Up is regarded as the greatest diss track ever. If it's not number 1, it's easily 2 or 3. You know what I mean? It's easily 2 or 3. Like, so you got Big and Pac at 3. You know what I mean? Like I said, because it's everything that came with Big and Pac. You gotta add the West Coast versus East Coast thing and all of it. You know what I mean? Because that was like they were the 2 spearheads of East Coast. So you know what I mean. Next, what we was just talking about, Kendrick versus Drake. You know what I mean? The 2 biggest artists of our generation right now. You know what I mean? Uh, a feud, a beef that has been stewing, that has been brewing for years, since 2013. You know what I mean? With the Control verse. You know what I mean? And then numerous subliminal shots at each other throughout the years. You know what I mean? And then, you know, after first person shooter, Kendrick just said he's had enough. You know what I mean? I'm tired of it. Like, you know what I mean? And he set the bomb off. You know, like that drop. And then we all know what else. We know what happened after that. You know what I mean? We know everything that came after that. We got 7-minute drill after that. We got 2 albums from Future and Metro. You know what I mean? We got a diss track from Rick Ross. We got, you know, 8 tracks from Kendrick and Drake combined. Like, this is, like I said, if we add into the other factors, you know what I mean, of all the shit that, like I said, the J. Cole song, the Future and Metro shit, the Rick Ross joint, all that, then yeah, this joint may be able to move up. But if we just keeping it strictly Drake and Kendrick and we, you know what I mean, we Xing out all the, you know, extracurricular shit, then, you know what I mean, I feel like 4th place is good. Like, 4th place is a good, you know what I mean? Like I said, we got quality music from them. It would have been better had Drake focused more on Kendrick and not on everybody else. But, you know, you can't deny the impact that Not Like Us had, the impact that Euphoria has. You know what I mean? And you can't deny Family Matters. Like, you know, but that's 4th. You know what I mean? It's a top. It's in the top 4. You know what I mean? I like some people saying it's the greatest. I don't see it. Like, I don't see it, but I got it at 4. Yeah, I mean, appreciate you. Next one, the game versus G Unit. This joint, listen, I was outside for this joint. You know what I mean? And this was when we found out that, because this all started. Shout out to Asia, shout out to the waifu views. This all started because 50 dropped Piggy Bank where he was dissing Jadakiss, Fat Joe, Nas, you know what I mean? And, 50 is G Unit is like an army, you know what I mean? And 50's the general. And when he go to war, he expect all his troops to fall in line and go at the opposition. Well, Game wasn't with that mindset. You know what I mean? He was like, I'm cool with Jada and Styles. Like, I don't got no beef with them niggas. Like, I'm really cool with them dudes. So like, I'm not beefing them. I'm not dissing them. So 50 took offense to that, kicked him out of G Unit, and then the shit that ensued afterwards was, one of the greatest rap feuds of all time. You had Game, he dropped 300 bars, which to me is I'm gonna keep it above. That's a top 5 diss track of all time, bro. Like, top 5 all time. Like, 15 minutes, nigga. 15 minutes of straight bars. It's 15 minutes of him going directly at his opposition. 15 straight minutes. This nigga is just going in. You know what I mean? He gave us 300 bars. Then he had the 240 bars drawn where he came at the nigga Spider Loc, which is, he was also on G Unit, but he asked. But 240 bars was crazy. You know what I mean? 50 dropped the Not Rich and Still Lying John, which was crazy. You know what I mean? Then you also had just shots from Lloyd Banks, Young Buck, Tony Ayo. Then they had the Beef DVD thing. You know what I mean? Of course, the whole shootout that happened, with 50 and Game, somebody on Game side got hit up. Then Game manager, Jimmy Henchman, sending people to shoot up Tony Ayo mom crib. Like, the shit was crazy. Like, the shit is crazy. For now, it's gonna stay at 4th on the list. If they drop again, because I believe they will, because I don't think this is over by any means. But for now, they're gonna stay at 4th. But if it goes, if it's up again and they release some more shit, then yeah, it's definitely gonna move up. But we already know Kendrick got an album coming out. So I'm pretty sure he gonna have some more to say to that man on the album. You seen the picture the other day of Drake in the studio with the producer. I know he said summer vibes and all that shit, but Drake, we know Drake. He's still gonna throw his shots at the ball. So this shit ain't over. Like, And then, like I said, all the other niggas that was involved. Do you think? You think ASAP? Even though I feel like he smoked ASAP Rocky, and he should keep his mouth shut. You think he gonna keep his mouth shut? No, he not. He not gonna keep his mouth shut. You know what I mean? The Weeknd and Metro dropping a whole nother album. You think that the Weeknd gonna keep his mouth shut? No, he gonna say something too. Who else? Rick Ross. You know what I mean? Like, he still got some shit to say. I understand this shit it's not over, but for now it's at 4th place. You know what I mean? It's gonna stay there. But back to Game versus G Unit. Like 300 bars. Like, it was just, that was a time. I remember when that shit dropped. You know what I mean? I remember this shit like yesterday. I was in the car. It was me, my cousin, my cousin, my big brother, and my little brother, and my aunt. You know what I mean? We was all driving. We was going to the Chinese buffet. You know what I mean? Shout out to the Chinese buffet in Springfield. You know what I mean? We was going out there. You know what I mean? And next thing I know, Power 99, Cosmic Kev come on. And he like, yo, new, you know what I mean? We got this new diss track from Game going right at G Unit. And when that shit dropped, dog, like, it was crazy. Like, that was a time. Like, you know what I mean? But Game versus G Unit, I got that in 5th. You know what I mean? ASAP don't got enough. Yeah, he did. ASAP did win for real. He won the war for real, for real. Like, cause it's like I got the girl you always, the girl you want. I got her, and I knocked her up twice. You know what I mean, so all right, next 50 versus Jada, Nas, and Fat Joe. You know what I mean, so like I mentioned before, 50 came out with Piggy Bank. You know what I mean, on a massacre where he went at Jadakiss, Nas, and Fat Joe because they hopped on a song with Ja Rule when they did the New York John. So 50, the how he operated and how he still operates is, if you show support to my enemies, then you're my enemy. You know what I mean? So because Jadakiss, Nas, and Fat Joe hopped on a song with Ja Rule, he was like, all right, well, y'all niggas is ops. So now I'm dissing y'all niggas. So here comes Piggy Bank. You know what I mean? First one to respond was Jadakiss with a fire John. Checkmate. Checkmate was, like, you know, and I ain't gonna lie, Piggy Bank was that shit. Like, you know, 50 was the first nigga to, I know we all say back to back, was like the first commercial diss record, but like, Piggy Bank was a single off of the massacre. I'm just saying, like, that was a whole single. Like, you know what I mean? So Piggy Bank, he dropped that. Jadakiss dropped Checkmate. Then 50 dropped I Run New York featuring Tony Yayo, Fire John, where, he went at Jadakiss and them again. You know what I mean? Then Jadakiss and Styles dropped uh Sorry Miss Jackson John, like crazy John. Then you also had just shots from Nas and Fat Joe as well. They aren't as memorable as the Jada and 50 Jones, but Nas and Fat Joe was in it too. The reason why I put this up there is because we already know who Jadakiss is. We know who Nas is. Fat Joe, he's okay, but he was taking on at the time three of the bigger artists in New York by himself. You know what I mean? And he held his own. So you gotta put that up there at number 6. Number 7, Ice Cube versus Common. You know what I mean? A battle that nobody expected. You know what I mean? It all started because Common made a song. You know what I mean? I think it was what I Used to Love Her or something like that, where he was basically talking about, you know, the concept of the song is that hip hop was a woman, and he was saying how once hip hop, the woman made it to the West Coast, she got, the West Coast fucked her up. You know what I mean? So Ice Cube and them, West Side Connection, they took offense to that. Like, nigga, like, fuck you mean once hip hop got to the West, it got fucked up. Like, so they took offense to it and they dissed Common. They came at him. Common, he ain't paid no mind, and then they kept dissing him. So then Common was like, all right, bro, I'm not about to sit here and let y'all keep, I'm from Chicago at the end of the day. I'm Chicago nigga. Y'all ain't about to. So then he dropped one of the greatest diss tracks of all time, The Bitchin' You, where he just went straight at Ice Cube. You know what I mean? And, this just is one of the more memorable beefs of all time because you wasn't expecting, like, Ice Cube was already known for taking out NWA, probably the most dangerous group in the world. He took them out by himself. You know what I mean? So now Common, this conscious nigga that's, wearing these knitted koofies, the knitted hats and shit. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody expecting this nigga to, go up against Ice Cube. And he did. And he smacked him. You know what I mean? Like, he literally smacked him. Like, you know what I mean? He gripped him up and he slapped that nigga. Like Common, like, The Bitchin' You was really, like, he was on Ice Cube head. Like, he was talking to that man. But I got that joint at 7. You know what I mean? Ice Cube, Common. Then 8, you know what I mean? You really gotta go Ice Cube. Again, Ice Cube and NWA. You know what I mean? One of the greatest diss songs in history. No Vaseline came out of that joint. We all know why the beef started between NWA, Ice Cube. You seen the movie. You heard it all growing up. If you seen the beef DVDs and all that shit. You know what I mean? Ice Cube wanted to go solo because he knew Jerry Heller was on that bullshit. You know what I mean? He left the group. They start dissing him on their next album, 100 Miles of Running, shit like that. They start dissing him. You know what I mean? So Ice Cube heard it, and then he said, all right, I got something for you. He recorded No Vaseline, one of the most scathing diss tracks of all time. And he put them niggas to sleep. Like, I mean, he put them niggas to sleep. I mean, you gotta put it up there because it was one man against a group, and he dismantled them niggas. So, you know what I mean? Shout out to Ice Cube at 8. Number 9, Drake versus Pusha. You know what I mean? No, I could have went Drake versus Meek. I could have went 50 versus Cameron. I could have went 50 versus Ross. You know what I mean? But Drake versus Pusha. And the reason why we're gonna go here is because this was one of the bigger moments in hip hop. You know what I mean? This goes to the point what I was making about the whole Drake, and Eminem thing when I put up the post saying that Drake's his resume in rap battles is stronger than Eminem. You know what I mean? He went up against Pusha T, bro. You see the two names that Drake got on this list, Kendrick and Pusha. You know what I mean? That those names are better than any names on Eminem's resume. Any. And I'm not just saying that just to say it. It's the truth. But that's besides the point. You know what I mean? Drake versus Pusha, one of the bigger moments in rap. You know what I mean? It's been going on. The subliminal shots was there. You know what I mean? Pusha for years had been dissing Baby and Wayne. You know what I mean? Taking the subliminal shots. Wayne then responded to Pusha, but Wayne's response was so ass that Pusha T didn't even pay that shit no mind. And I love Lil Wayne, but that shit was garbage. Like it was horrible. And I mean that's why I'm glad Wayne ultimately stayed out of rap beats for real, because he's not really a good diss track rapper. For like as much crazy bars and metaphors that he can come up with, dissing people is not his forte. You know what I mean? But Drake versus Pusha, they had the history. You know what I mean? Pusha Bill, like I say, he was dissing Baby and Wayne for years. You know what I mean? You are hiding a child. Let that boy come home. Deadbeat motherfucker playing Border Patrol. Ugh. You know what I mean? Yeah, Joe Budden was Eminem's. If you want to be for real, it was Eminem. If you want to count, I mean, it was Joe Budden. If you want to count Ja Rule, then but Ja Rule was mainly 50. You know what I mean? Eminem was in it by proxy. You know what I mean? But the biggest name on there is Joe Budden and the game, but he ain't really, go at the game back and forth for it to be, you know what I mean? But I mean, like I said, you just go look at Eminem's resume, people, and you tell me if I'm wrong or not. Because I mean, we praise this man. Like I was just talking to somebody on Facebook earlier, and they telling me Drake resume don't matter because he lost, which does not make any sense to me. Because even if you lose, the names on your schedule, the names on your resume, they're still the same names. Like even if you lost to Kendrick and Pusha T, they're still Kendrick and Pusha T. Like, I mean, you just lost the two niggas that's better than you. But giving niggas praise for beating Nick Cannon and Benzino is crazy. That's all I'm saying. Like we praise the niggas because they beat Nick Cannon. They beat Benzino. Like, come on. I'm not a recording artist, and I could beat Nick Cannon and Benzino in a battle. Like, come on now. Like, come on. Insane Clown Posse. Like, I could beat them niggas in a rap battle. Like, come on. But Drake versus Pusha, you know what I mean? Like I said, you had the subliminals. Pusha dropped Daytona. You know what I mean? Daytona had Infrared on there where he went at Drake. You know what I mean? You know, it was written like Nas, but it came from Quentin. You know what I mean? But then Drake immediately listen, I'm gonna keep it a buck, bro. I said Eminem lost to Mariah Carey, but niggas is like, no, the warning. Did you not hear the warning? That joint is like, but it's like, come on, bro. She smoked you. You know what I mean? She smoked you. She had the nigga in the video, the boy in the video that she had playing Eminem dressed exactly like how Eminem dressed right. The same nut ass hoodie with that hat. You know what I mean? And the nut ass beard. You know what I mean? Like, come on. But yeah, Mariah Carey won. I don't got M versus Mariah Carey, you know, in my top 10, but you know what I mean? She did win though. But Drake versus Pusha, you know what I mean? Like I said, Infrared came out, and then Drake immediately dropped Duppy Freestyle like the same day. Then sent the invoice to Pusha T and them. You know what I mean? And then, you know, just a day out of nowhere, you know, we were all chilling one day. You know what I mean? And then there was this song that came out that, you know, turned the world upside down when it came out. And this was it. The story of Adonis, or the story of Adidon, whatever you want to call it. But, you know, you had the picture of Drake on the cover in a blackface, you know. That came out. A lot of people were shocked and appalled by it. I mean, the explanation given to the folks was, you know, Drake was a fan of Little Brother, North Carolina based rap group. They had an album called The Minstrel Show. You know what I mean? And he was just paying homage to them. But like, it's like, I mean, you are of a, you know, fair shaded complexion, and you are Jewish Canadian, and you know what I mean, you wearing blackface. Like, you gotta use your think tank, which he did not use in that, you know what I mean, moment of time. But yeah, Pusha T found that photo, or somebody found that photo for Pusha T, gave it to him. I mean, he made that the cover art, and then we know what ensued after that. You know what I mean? Yeah, the cover art is. Yeah, I mean, the reason the cover art is undefeated. The reason why I say MGK lost, even though I feel like Rap Devil was better than Killshot, MGK lost because he did not respond to Killshot, and he decided to start making music in a whole different genre. Like, you went from, you know what I mean? And plus, also, during the battle with Eminem, you kept praising him, saying, I know you the GOAT and all this other stuff. Like, when you dissing somebody, you're not supposed to, like, are you dissing me, or are you giving me, are you paying me homage? Like, which one are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, because MGK didn't respond and he switched a whole genre, he lost. Like, you know what I mean? He lost. Like, had he had he kept the same energy he had on Rap Devil for another track, it may have gotten more interesting. But because he switched, you know, whole genres after the diss track, he got to take that out. But yeah, where we at now? So, like I said, after that cover art was dropped, you know what I mean, you knew what happened. You know what I mean, like, the song came out, you know what I mean, and it was just, you know what I mean, man, like, it was, you could just read the lyrics in this joint, man. You know what I mean? Didn't stay off the gram, you know what I mean? I'm on one. You mentioned a wedding ring. Listen, bro. Come on, man. You mentioned wedding ring like it's a bad thing. Your father walked away at 5. Hell of a dad thing. Marriage is something that Sandy never had. Drake. how you a winner, but she keep coming in last place. Like, come on, bro. Like, Pusha T was like, I was just watching the other day. I was just watching the fucking Joe Budden podcast reaction to this joint, and this track was so disrespectful and so like scathing that niggas was like, did he go too far? Yeah, I mean, niggas is asking like, did he go too far? And that's the thing I was talking about during the whole Kendrick and Drake thing, how people was moving the goalposts for Drake the same way they did when this song dropped out. It's like, now that we dissing this one particular person, certain things can't be said. You know what I mean? Or are we going too far? Because you know what I mean? But it was never are we going too far when you know what I mean, you didn't ask was Tupac going too far when he said he had sex with Biggie's wife. Nobody said nothing about that. Nobody said, oh man, bro, you drawing. You shouldn't be talking about that man's wife like that. Niggas applauded that joint like hell yeah. I mean, yeah, Pac, you fuck that nigga bitch. Like, so why now when we say something about Drake, it's oh man, I mean, was that going too far? Or oh man, we gotta stop saying this, we gotta stop using this angle. Like, I'm not trying to hear that. Like, I mean, I'm not trying to hear that. Like, y'all gotta keep the same energy. You can't change rules for one person. Like, I mean, and that's with this song. That's what the song started. That's what the song started. The sympathy train for Drake. I mean, because oh, you should. Why you had to talk about that man mom that way, or you know what I mean? Why you had to bring up, OVO 40 hunched over like he 80, tick tick tick. How much time he got? That man is 666. You know what I mean? Listen, I'm just saying, like, I know niggas ain't like that, but I fucked with it because it was disrespectful as hell. You know what I mean? And then it's like, you know, he said that man wife's name. Like, yeah, he said all he said was I'm gonna let it ring on it like Virginia Williams. But still, most niggas you can't tell a nigga how to react about his wife. Like, you know what I mean? You can't. Like, if I don't want you to have my wife's name in your mouth, shout out to Will Smith. You know what I mean? Then you just gonna have to deal with the consequences. Like, you know what I mean? So, and we know Drake, he has, you know what I mean, the tendency to do that. When he beefing with niggas, he always he'll put that woman, that woman's name in his mouth. I.e. with the whole, you know what I mean, you seen what happened with Kendrick. He kept witnessing Whitney, you know what I mean, and you seen what happened after that. He told him on Meet the Grams, I mean, you know, you keep saying people's names, throwing dirt on names of innocent people. Like, I mean, so he had to deal with the shit. But yeah, Story of Adidon came out. The song was so heavy and so crazy that outside parties had to step in. I mean, Jay Prince, of course, and we know Jay Prince got involved. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? We didn't hear another diss track from Drake after that. It was some shots being thrown on Drake's Scorpion album, where he did, continue to take shots at Pusha T. But full length diss tracks was out after that. You know what I mean? And, Pusha T won off of the Story of Adidon, Story of Adonis. You know what I mean? And then number 10, this may be the Philly bias in me, but I don't care. You know what I mean? Jadakiss versus Beanie Siegel. You know what I mean? When this joint, listen, this was two of the hardest spitters in the game at the time. You know what I mean? Beans with the Rock, niggas was saying that he was arguably better than Hove. You know what I mean? Jadakiss and the Rough Riders. You know what I mean? Niggas was always saying Jada was the best rapper over there, even with X. You know what I mean? So you had these two going at it. You know what I mean? And it was fire. I mean, it was just, they didn't have to talk about niggas' kids and all this other shit. You know what I mean? They just went at each other with bars. You know what I mean? And it was right on each other's head. Like, right at each other's head. You know what I mean? So, You know, that's my top 10. I mean, right there. You know, that's my top 10. 50 versus Murder Inc., Jay versus Nas, Big Pop, Kendrick, Drake, Game versus G Unit, 50 versus Jada, Nas, and Fat Joe, Ice Cube versus Common, Ice Cube versus NWA, Drake versus Pusha, and Jada versus Beans. You know what I mean? Siegel was that nigga, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and also, of course, some honorable mentions. Of course, Drake versus Meek Mill. You know what I mean? That whole beef, which I do solemnly believe that y'all gave Meek an unfair shake in that joint. You know what I mean? Because War Pain and I Want to Know are way better than Charged Up and Back to Back. Like, Meek dropped the better songs. He dropped the better disses during the whole feud. It's just that Back to Back was so heavy, you know what I mean? It was a catchy joint, the beat was fire, you know what I mean? Everybody was loving it, you know what I mean? The bars, it was too many quotables within there, you know, that your girl, is that your girl tour or world tour, you know what I mean? All that shit. Like, but the reason why I say y'all gotta look back at that beef and give Meek more credit is because he was the first nigga to point out that boy really be on some culture vulture type shit. You know what I mean? Kendrick wasn't the one that pointed that out and started calling that nigga a colonizer. Meek was the first one that told y'all niggas that boy really be hopping on waves and he's a culture vulture. He told y'all. But y'all didn't want to hear that shit. You know what I mean? Meek told y'all that he got pissed on by T.I. homie. Y'all didn't want to hear that shit. You know what I mean? Y'all swept that shit under the rug. Meek told y'all niggas that Quentin Miller was writing his butt. You know, he got them tracks, them bars from Quentin Miller. Y'all ain't want to hear that shit. You know what I mean? You didn't want to hear it when Meek said it, but when it got rehashed by other niggas, it had more effect. Now, I do agree that Meek may have been, he had the right message. He was just the wrong person to deliver it. You know what I mean? He was the wrong person to deliver that message at the time. But he blew the whistle on this shit. Like, I mean, y'all niggas wouldn't have had that ammo about Drake being a colonizer and all this other shit and Ghost Riders if Meek ain't blow the whistle first. You know what I mean? Just go back and listen to I Wanna Know. Because he was really on Drake head that whole song. But the reason why we pushed I Wanna Know, you know, out the back door is because first of all, the anticipation of the song, you know, Meek and Funk Flex had us thinking that they was about to drop the next Hit 'Em Up or some shit. You know what I mean? And then it didn't drop on the night they said it was going to drop. You know what I mean? So niggas was over it. And then by the time we dropped, it was like, all right, bro. Like, you know what I mean? He had the Undertaker shit on there. You know, niggas thought it was going to go harder. I was cool with it when it first dropped. It wasn't bad to me. But Drake was just so huge at the time. You know what I mean? It didn't matter. You know what I mean? Nobody cared. Like, but yeah, 50 verse, Drake versus Meek Mill. You know what I mean? Of course, an honorable mention, you know, because you got to throw back to back in there. You know what I mean? Of course, like I said, I mentioned earlier, the bridge. You know what I mean? The bridge wars. You know what I mean? South Bronx versus Queensbridge. You know what I mean? You know, the bridge is over. You know what I mean? South Bronx, all them diss tracks that came up. Eminem versus Benzino or Eminem versus The Source. You know what I mean? Another one. You know, that was another honorable mention. You know what I mean? What else? LL versus Cannabis. You know what I mean? Another honorable mention. You know what I mean? Gucci and Young Jeezy. You know what I mean? And the niggas, motherfuckers really lost their life behind that shit. You know what I mean? Gucci and Jeezy, of course. You know what I mean? Who else? Shit, we can even throw, you know what I mean? We can even throw Chris Brown and Quavo in there, you know what I mean? You know? But, yeah, that was just, you know what I mean? Oh, yeah, MC8 versus DJ Quick, another John. You know what I mean? That you could throw up in there. You know what I mean? But, yeah, that was, you know what I mean? What I wanted to take y'all through. let y'all know, some of the top rap beefs of all time. I mean, Kendrick and Drake is one of them. I mean, is one of them. I mean, impact is only a part of it. I mean, it's the quality of songs that came into it. I mean, it's the impact of the beef had on the culture, the quality of songs between the opposition. I mean, and everything else that surrounded the beef. Like, I mean, the initial cause of the beef is, I mean, also a part of the criteria. I mean, Biggie, Biggie and Pac. I mean, like I explained before, it's the whole East Coast versus West Coast. I mean, they spearheaded that whole, you know, coast versus coast battle. I mean, but there wasn't really a a bevy of songs that came out between Biggie and Pac to move it up. And also for Kendrick and Drake, the reason why it is where it is now because it's not over yet. I mean, so you know, until more songs get released, it can potentially move up or move down. But because of what it sparked when it popped off, and because of who it's between two of the biggest artists in the generation, I mean, it's definitely top five. But as far as it's not for me, it's not a better feud than 50 versus Murder Inc. or Jay-Z versus Nas. It's not. Jay-Z versus Nas, two of the greatest rappers ever in their prime, going at each other. You know what I mean? Ether is arguably the greatest diss track of all time. So, you know what I mean? Takeover is a top 10 diss track of all time. I mean, so just on the strength of that, it's number two. And then 50 versus Murder Inc. Like the quality of the diss tracks that came out, the quantity of diss tracks that came out, you know what I mean, the impact it had on diss tracks, the impact it had on rap beef in general, you know what I mean, the impact it had on mixtapes at the time, you know what I mean? Like it's the impact between 50 and Murder Inc. was too huge. Like it was too big. You know what I mean, and like I said, the music that came out of it was, it was a lot. So that's why it's number one. But Kendrick and Drake, it has the opportunity to move up or move down, like I said, depending on what else gets released, because it's not over. It's far from over. Like it's just whatever happening now is over, but it's not done yet. But for now, it's top four. I cannot place it as the greatest rap beef of all time. I mean, because like I stated before, we didn't really find out who's a better rapper between these two. You know what I mean? And it was more of a smear campaign than anything. And then also, one artist focused on his opponent while the other artist focused on 6, 7, 8 other people instead of focusing on one person. And because he didn't focus on that one person, that affected the quality of his music. So, had he focused on Kendrick, the quality of his music would have been better and that ranking would have went up. I mean, so that's just my opinion. That's how I feel. Like it's still a top 5 rap feud of all time. It's just not number one. Like, you know, I feel like number 4 was a good spot for it to be in. Like, I mean, it could flip flop with Biggie and Pac just because it was more song. It was more songs that came out from Drake and Kendrick than Biggie and Pac, but the impact of Biggie and Pac is bigger than Drake and Kendrick. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was like, bro, that was my whole thing with this whole rap beef. Is just, I mean, I wanted to know who was the better rapper between Drake and Kendrick. I didn't care about, you know what I mean, Drake having another baby or, I mean, Dave Free possibly being the father of, none of that matters. Like we don't give a fuck about that. Like, I mean, yeah, it's probably it's definitely the most public smear campaign of all time. Like, you know what I mean? Like this was just a battle of let's see who can discredit each other. You know what I mean? Let's see who can take each other's fan base. You know, that's basically what it was. Like, you know what I mean? But, you know, I just feel like Drake and Kendrick are way better artists and way more creative with their pens that they could have came up with better ways to diss each other. Like, you know what I mean? Y'all way more creative with your artistry than to do what you did. Like, I mean, bringing in niggas' kids and all this other shit. Like, I mean, I get it. Like I said earlier in the show, it's a diss record. You got to be disrespectful. So you can, in one sense, be like, oh, I'm here for the disrespect, and then be mad when people do disrespectful shit. But, I mean, it's levels to it. But at the same time, it's hypocritical to say you accept it and then, I mean, you're mad that they took it to some level. I mean, but two things can be true. I mean, two things can be true. You can be happy. I mean, you can recognize what disrespect is, and you also can, feel some type of way about the disrespect. I mean, if you get what I'm saying. But, hell yeah, shit. I forgot it was a presidential election this year. But I don't give a fuck about the candidate, so it's easy to forget when you don't give a fuck about who's being elected. You know what I mean? Like, we got the same two old dickheads again, you know what I mean, that we got to choose from. Like, one nigga, you know what I mean? It's just like, I'm not a Trump supporter, you know what I mean? But at least that nigga got me some stimulus checks when he was in office. Like, you know what I mean? This nigga Biden, shit, he giving all my money to Ukraine and shit. You know what I mean? But we ain't here for that. You know what I mean? This ain't a political show. You know what I mean, we talking about rap beefs. You know what I mean? But yeah, these are my top 10 rap beefs of all time. You know what I mean? Like I said, there are some good honorable mentions. You know what I mean? T.I. versus Little Flip is a good, you know what I mean? T.I. versus Ludacris. You know what I mean? M versus MGK, if you want to throw that up there. You know what I mean? But these are the top 10 for me. You know what I mean? Drake versus Kendrick is at 4. Like I said, they have the potential to move up or down based on what happens next. Because like I said, I do believe this is not over. It was too much that was said for them niggas to just let this shit die. And, you know what I mean? It's too much. Too much. Like, I wasn't expecting Kendrick to drop anything after Not Like Us, because Not Like Us is so big. You didn't need to drop anything after he dropped the Heart Part 6, because Not Like Us was going to drown out the Heart Part 6 anyway, because it was so big. But we know that Kendrick is releasing another album, and we know that Drake is releasing more music. So use your context clues and your common sense. 1 + 1 is 2. You know what I mean? Some more disses is coming. Whether they're subliminal or they're, direct, they're coming. You know what I mean? So, but until then, it is in 4th place. And until then, until some more records is released, this is how the standings will stay. You know what I mean? And I'm going to get out of here. We will be back next week with a whole nother show, with a whole new topic. You know what I mean? I don't know what that topic is yet, but when I know, you will know. And by then, you will see me next week. But you will also see me this Thursday on the What It Sound Like podcast. I mean, and make sure you follow the Blurry Cartel on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, and Twitch. Follow the What It Sound Like podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Follow HollyHood Sensei, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. I said Instagram, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, HollyHood Sensei _215. I'm all at y'all, man. We out of here.